all right. Woo. It is Thursday, and this is the David Washington Show, podcasting from the Oxford Sports Pub and Secret Society in Altamont Springs and Altamont Mall. And I want to introduce a very special guest, like a godfather to me, political godfather to me.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed. Who is it?
Mr. James Auffant. Jimmy, all right.
All right.
Tell us about yourself.
My name is James Auffant. Believe it or not, with that name, I'm Puerto Rican. A lot of people don't understand that. I was one of the first attorneys here of Spanish descent in the Orlando area. I am past member of the Florida Democratic Party. I've been a candidate to various positions here in Orange County. I've helped other candidates win. And at the same time, I'm the past secretary of the Florida Democratic Party. And I lost that when I decided to back Bernie Sanders, and the establishment of the party decided to push me out.
Right.
But other than that, I here a mentor for anybody who wants to any help as to political. Yes, and I do identify myself not as a progressive, but as a liberal. So
Okay.
I'm not ashamed to call myself that. A lot of people always give it a bad name. You could call me whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I'm a liberal.
I'm in agreement with you on that. I consider myself a liberal, and at one point, I wavered between progressive liberal. I think it's just the same. My views are always been from the liberal perspective, and I wanted you to be a part of this podcast,
Okay.
especially the subject matter because of your insight that you have into the Florida Democratic Party, local politics, and what it means to be a liberal, especially now in 2023. And with what the Democrats, the liberals are facing here in Florida, the last election says it. The Democrats, they shat themselves. And this is a cold red for the Democrats. And so I want to talk to you about a 20-point plan that I've discussed before. Some of it is new, some of it is borrowed. Uh, However, I think a lot of it is stuff that we should already know. It's just a matter of implementing the strategy. And so I just wanted to talk about that. There's 20 points. We're not going to talk about all 20 today. I like to do it over a course of several podcasts, but we'll take the first five. And just to remind what the points are, the first one is the topic is unite. The second one is new party leadership. The third, go back to the grassroots. The fourth, listen to our base. And five, fight for every vote. And I want to make a special shout out to our friend Samuel Viches Santiago, because many of these points, the first 10, are borrowed from him. And I thought it was a great start to this conversation. So, unless you have something else that you want to say, you want to bring your mic a little closer to you?
Okay, I could do that. I want to say hi to Sammy. He's my inspiration as a older senior to see that there's youth who, when I can no longer yell and scream, he will be there. So
Excellent.
as to the 5 points, let me summarize it in two things. The biggest problem the Florida Democratic Party has, there is no Florida Democratic Party.
Okay.
Okay, let's call it what it is. Every year, the committeeman and committeewoman meet, they elect a chair, and that chair's function is to run out and get funds for the party to spend, we don't know on what, other than maybe the staff, because in Florida, the House victory runs the House races, Senate victory runs the Senate races. If you run locally, the Florida Democratic Party gives you no help and has no assistance whatsoever. And particularly if you run like in Orange County on a nonpartisan race for county commissioner, they're not existent. If you run for governor or if you run for state senator or for, let's say, attorney generals, a statewide election, they're supposed to help you. The truth of the matter is you're really on your own. This
Yeah.
system that we have today in place was put together by Governor Lawton Childs in the 80s.
Oh,
Okay, it
boy.
hasn't been changed at
Oh,
all. It's the same
really?
system. They meet now to elect a new chair. That chair will run the party, and the state committee man, state committee woman have no other function the rest of the time. The local parties are on their own. Literally, when I say this,
Right.
they're on their own. When I was secretary, I say, well, why don't we get software for them that we could get them? The van, which is
The voter database that Democrats use.
you have to pay for it. It's not free. So the local parties have to raise money to use the van, and they'll tell you that's what they use to maintain it. Well, I'm not sure what they're using it on because the van leaves a lot to be desired.
Okay.
Uh, the party and the van does not come from the local party. It comes from the national party, for the record.
That's correct.
Okay, so what does the state party do? Really nothing. Other than give the appearance, it does nothing. The senators do their own thing. The House of Representatives do their own things. And each of the 67 counties are on their own. We live in Orange County, and the last time that the Orange County DEC had $80,000 was in 2016. Right now, they're not even close to that.
Wow.
And what do they do to help their candidates? You used to go to their meetings, you could recruit volunteers, but other than that, there's no support. As a matter of fact, they have nothing they really could assist you with. You want to run, you're on your own.
Right.
But the Republicans, you want to run, they assist you.
They do.
They
I've seen
pay
it.
for your campaign manager.
Right.
They pay for other things, and they help you get prepared. So, if the first thing to do is to reorganize the party, because you cannot unite something that doesn't exist.
Right. So let's start there. Uniting the Democrats and deconstructing the party and building it up again. And I'm thinking that this is going to be a process for the Democrats to be relevant again. It's going to be another 8 to 12 years. That's just my estimation. And the very first point that I like to look at is uniting the party, uniting Democrats again. Where do we start? How do we start? I know you
How do you start? You start by trying to put together the party at a local level and giving it instruments to work. Look, we just lost Dade County.
That's correct.
The chairman of the party is from Dade County. One of the candidates for chairmanship is from Dade County.
That's true.
We need to unite the party. But the problem is not so much uniting the party, is sitting down how we're going to unite the party.
Right.
Because right now, yes, I'll give you an example. The people from Henry County, there's 4 people in the local DEC, and they've been reelected for years because there's no really a party there to be done. So the thing to do is to sit down and say, let's take the committeemen and committeewoman and sit down and create a plan to reorganize the party and do something. And to be quite honest, that's one thing. The other thing, stop listening to the consultants. Sorry, I know you
I understand. I understand.
who keep saying you
The
that
same consultants that
keep
come from Tallahassee or come from DC
And-
with the same playbook.
with the same playbook that doesn't work here. Also, start saying if we're going to unite this, we're going to have to back the local parties, because there's a saying where I come from: all politics are local.
Every day.
Stop thinking that what's going to work in Miami is going to work in Orlando. What's going to work in Orlando is going to work in Tallahassee. It doesn't work that way.
So saying that, every organization, this is moving into the second point. Every organization, every community, every party has leadership. And it's obvious that the Democrats need new leadership. Manny Diaz has retired, stepped away, and now there's that void. There's several different candidates right now with their own attributes. Without naming names, who is the ideal, or what traits make the ideal leader of the new Florida Democratic Party, moving out of the 80s into the 2020s? What traits would you like to see the new leadership have?
One who would say, I'm not going to listen to the consultants from Tallahassee and from DC. One who realizes that the status quo has not worked at all. One who can accept that recycling a candidate for governor is not a good idea, that just using TV as the only source to advertise
Yes,
and get out the vote is not a good idea,
right.
and one who's willing to stand up to the people of special interest and say, no, no, this is the way we're going to go forward. This is the plan. I'm going to work with the local parties. I'm going to make them strong. I'm going to make them solvent. And I'm going to go out there and do something for them. If you're going to sit either in Tallahassee or in Miami and just call donors all day to get money, your plan for 8 years will go into 12.
Right.
Uh,
And so at the local executive committees, local committees, what would you like to see the leadership look like, their traits in the 67 odd counties, the DECs?
Well, maybe it's time to change the way we elect our DECs.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's a game, and I'm going to call it a game.
Yes.
You go and get your friends who are Democrat, they sign up as precinct captains, and they get in the day of the election, they elect you, and then they never come back.
Correct.
So from the 200 people that you had in the election day, you could end up with 40. And they're all going to be on Zoom. I'm not so sure that
Right. In Orange County,
that-
everything has been on Zoom. Of course, during the pandemic, it was reasonable, but to this day,
I don't see why we continue
I
doing
don't
it.
understand that.
But that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is have support from the state party. Let me give you an example of something that worked. In 2016, we had 4 employees from the party that no longer exist. They don't exist anymore. They were eliminated. 2 were Hispanic outreach workers. One was
Okay.
Betsy, and the other one, I forget her name right now. They would go to the different counties and help them out, and go to the local parties and see how they could help get out the Hispanic vote and put together a plan to get out the Hispanic vote.
Yeah.
And the one in Osceola was very effective at that time with Betsy. We had 2 African American outreach persons who would help do the outreach for African Americans. I would say this very respectfully. After Obama and once Trump came into power,
Yes.
the party just went crumbled, and they eliminated all 4 positions. That was a big mistake. At the same time, there was people in Tallahassee that were technicals. Look, not everybody is into technology. So you had local parties like in Henry County, where the committeeman, committeewoman in the chair were in their 70s, and they were what I would like to call myself computer challenged.
Okay.
And
happens. Yeah.
and what we were trying to say, hey, here's the person. He'll come in. He'll set up it. I mean, I'll give you one example. Their Google Mail, they did not know how to say, we're going to take out these people completely and replace them with these other people. They just kept adding because they didn't know how to take out the old ones. As simple as that. So that's not
wow.
yeah. That's what I'm trying to get.
Challenging.
So what I was saying, hey, maybe you call somebody in Tallahassee. We have this problem. How do we do it? And
Right.
they walk you through it.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Putting together a plan to get out the vote, and stop what I call the Democratic Party suppression of the votes of minorities, which people, when I say this, we never suppress. Well, there's a different way of suppressing it. Working the Hispanic and African American vote 2 months before the election is a suppression.
That's smart. And that leads us to our third point, is getting back to the grassroots. And you make a very good point. And it's frustrating for me to see the party, see campaigns, see individuals make an effort to make relationships with voters. And what I believe is too late. It's 6 months, 8 months before an election. I just don't understand it. This is a relationship that has to be built over time, and let people know you do have a leadership apparatus in your neighborhood where you can go to the precinct captain and say, hey, I want to make phone calls for the 2023 municipal elections in Ocoee, which are coming up in March. Instead of waiting until, it's 6 months before the November election in 2024, it's time to engage our base.
And not only engage the base, maintain the base.
Yes.
Look, I hate to say this, we're in 2023. You could set up, and this is the things that I was trying to tell them, and they never understood, is you could set up seminars
Mm-hmm.
on Zoom or Microsoft Teams and say, hey, we're going to teach you how to work the new things of the van. We're going to teach you how to set up this with Outlook. We could teach you how to do PowerPoint. We're going to teach you how to set up a G email set for the board and the members of your local party. We're going to help. That's doesn't cost you anything. It's free. It's just that you have to have people and staff that have the knowledge how to do that. What you should. So basically, those are things. The other thing is, there's never been implemented a plan to win Florida. I gave them one, and they were no. The plan to win Florida is very simple.
And
You have 7 counties that have 49% of the population. 7 counties.
Right.
Okay. Work those 7 counties day and night.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if you win those 7 counties, you're going to be ahead. And when I say that, there's been no effort to help any of the 7 counties. They're all on their own like everybody else. But then there is 21 purple counties. Now, give you an example of one that we all know is Seminole County.
Yes, we're here
it showed
Seminole
us
right now.
Showed us that they could be turned around. They never worked on it.
That's
You
right.
have Duval County. You have part of not Henry County, Gilchrist County, Collier County. There's about 21 counties that if you work them, you can turn them. You turn half of those, 5 or 6, you're now in 53% of the population. But the party is like, no, each county's on their own. No, you do whatever you want. No, we're not even going to help you. There is the frustrating part.
And Jimmy, this leads to the next point about our base and the way I see you redefining what our base is. Those 7 counties that will give us a vast number of voters, and within those 7 counties, those numbers, we have our base, our traditional base, but then breaking it down like that by numbers. 7 counties give us the vast majority of our voters, and then these other 21 where we can pill off more votes and capture statewide offices. It is. Am I on the right track here in like a redefinition or expanding what the base is?
Well, you see, I have a problem with what we call the base for 2 reasons.
Okay.
I'm Hispanic. We are an ethnicity. We're not a race. We have some people who are very conservative, and they're good friends of mine, and I respect them, and they're Republicans. To think that all Hispanics is going to be our base is kind of confusing. The same thing with African Americans. African Americans, yes, they tend to vote Democrat because they feel more rejected by the Republicans. Now they feel accepted sometimes by the Democrat, and sometimes the candidates that they are putting in front of us don't inspire.
That's right.
I mean,
That's true.
I'll give you a prime example. Charlie Crist did not inspire the Hispanic base.
At all.
They did not come out to vote because basically, no. And you had a governor who had a lieutenant governor who would go out to the Hispanic communities, talk to them in Spanish, and then we're wondering why they went that way. It's because we don't. And our base should be every person, white, African American, Hispanic, everybody who works and wants the best for this country. That should be our base, because sometimes I think our party has ignored the white male completely.
Sure.
The working man, they've ignored him. Why? They're voters. They have the same principles. But right now, you know, and the other thing is that we have not really come out with a theme. Look,
Consistent message thing.
I have to admire Ron DeSantis. He created something that doesn't exist. Woke is BS. It doesn't exist. Some people think that way, yes,
Okay.
and some people Republicans think that we should expel everybody who speaks Spanish. That doesn't make it an issue. The issue is that he was able to sell it, and the people bought it. And right now, we should be able to say to the public, you know what his woke took us to? That right now, in a school called Roberto Clemente in Orange County, they banned from the library a book about his life. And why? Because it tends to be too pro-Hispanic.
Right.
Really. I mean, that's something that we could sell to, but we don't. We tend to sell to them. We count on you to vote for me. You're going to vote for me. Can anybody explain to me what was the theme of the campaign for our past Senate race and for our past government? Because I don't know it.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you at all. I can't tell you at all.
And the last but not least, we have to stop pushing away liberals in our party.
Mhm.
We are, believe it or not, a large majority in this party. And if you turn us off, that's why you're only going to have 49% of the population voting.
Right.
Let's be honest. There's a group here in Florida that we all know that's still controlled by Bernie Sanders. And if we just could cultivate them, we'll win every race in the state.
This leads to our final point for this first 5 points of the 20-point plan. And you alluded to it. It's fighting for every vote.
Yes.
And looking at folks that we haven't really targeted in the recent past. And off camera, prior to us going live, you mentioned that there was one thing about the 67 county approach that you have an issue with. And I think I see it now. Going back to your example of the 7 counties and then the 21 counties. Talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, we had a governor's race that I thought we should have won in 2012. And basically the problem was that they were talking about the 67 county thing. And back then I agreed on it because it sounded good. It really did sound good.
Sure.
So we went with it, and we had that candidate spending almost 20% of her time in the Panhandle. The results in the Panhandle were the same. We spent time there. We spent money there. We couldn't turn them around. And it's like the old provisions say, you got to talk to an audience, and there's going to be a 10 to 15% that no matter what you say, they're going to be with you. And there's going to be a 25% that no matter what they say, you say they're going to not agree with you.
Correct.
So you don't want to spend good money in a county where you have no chance in winning. And you know who showed us that recently? Georgia. If you look at the counties that the 2 state senators won, were counties that were winnable and that were worked. And I have to say that they were worked very well.
Yes.
So there's an example with our next door neighbor. The problem is I have a problem saying and this is the problem. It's numbers. You have 7 counties where 49% of the population lives. Okay, you should be spending your money, at least half of your money, in those 7 counties. Why? Because there's your voters.
That's where the numbers are. Yeah.
You go to Henry County that has, I think, 14,000 voters. You want to spend the same money as you spend in Orange County? It's ridiculous.
No.
I mean, it makes no sense.
You don't give up on them. You help them.
You help them
build their democratic numbers.
But you realize what they are. But then you take Seminole County, which we're saying today, and you spend some money, and you really could turn this county around and one election or 2. It is really something that we need to just know where we can win and where you cannot win. This is like anything else in life. Saying that you're going to do, I hear a 50 state plan. No. I hate to say it's no.
Okay.
There's some. I'll give you a state that I would spend money right now. Texas is winnable.
I agree.
But Utah, we're not spending money in Utah. So it's
Right.
it is what it is. But in Florida, we can win if we work it. But if you're just going to have a chairman who looks pretty and asks for money all around the country for what, I have no idea, but does not help the local counties, we're going nowhere.
I agree with you. I'm looking at my thoughts about that 67 county approach, and I agree. You go where the votes are.
Yeah.
You go where your numbers are, and you solidify those numbers, and you grow those numbers, and then in those other counties, you help create and you help support the Democratic Party, the local Democratic Party, and make them part of the greater network, because you can make phone calls from Henry County for candidates in Dade County. You can, do fundraisers in Hillsborough for a candidate out of Tallahassee. Is that? Yeah. So I believe having a party structure that is effective in the way that you described it, and with the end result of getting those votes, your voters out to vote, could be a successful recipe for democratic leadership of the state of Florida.
Let me answer your first question, was what should the chairman have? And very simply, please, any of your committee men, committee women who are listening to this, elect somebody who's vocaling to you that they're going to work outside of the box. The definition of insanity is to repeat the same act, expecting a different. If you're going to be putting the good old boys or good old girls in there, you're going to end up with the same result. It's not going to be 8 years. It's going to be 12 years, because let's realize this. The chairman is elected for 4 years.
That's right.
If you elect a bad chairman, well, we kicked out one, but that was for different reasons. But you're going to be stuck with that person for. So please, pretty please, elect somebody who thinks outside of the box, and somebody who's willing to take on the challenge of working with the 67 counties.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I really appreciate that. On our first 5 points of this 20-point plan, very insightful. I hope that you can be with me to finish the next 15, because I believe your insight is very valuable. And it is a matter of thinking outside the box,
Correct.
teamwork, and looking at the greater goal. And I really appreciate this. This is great. This is a great start to this conversation.
And whenever you need me for anything, David, that's fine. And I'm here for you guys to help you out as much as I can.
We're going to have you on our other podcasts. We're going to have you and Joel debate, have a conversation from the liberal side and from the conservative side, maybe from his platform, the Morning Constitution, or you can make this shit up, our flagship podcast. So I really appreciate it, Jimmy. I appreciate John in producing this. Thank you very much. We appreciate the Oxford Sports Pub and Secret Society for being our event hosts. We'll be broadcasting here every Thursday. This is great. It's been great. We've been here all day, and looking forward to the next time.
Okay, I will be here. Same time, same station.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Take care.